morning. It is now time to begin our regular board meeting for the Board of Supervisors of Cochise County. Held in the Board of Supervisors hearing room, 1415 Melody Lane, Building G, Bisbee, Arizona, 85603. Any item on this agenda is open for discussion and possible action. We will begin if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The order or deletion of any item on this agenda is subject to modification at this meeting. The board may vote to recess into an executive session for purposes of obtaining legal advice from the board's attorney on any matter listed on the agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A and 3. First, we'll begin with the roll call. District 1.
Crosby is here.
District 2. District 3, I am Supervisor Judd, and I am also present. I believe that Miss English will be joining us, Supervisor English, if Chairman English. Hopefully that is the case. Members of the public may attend this meeting via Microsoft Teams, computer, or mobile app, or via phone by calling 602-609-7513 or 888-680-6714. Conference ID 662-240-758#. If you have trouble accessing this meeting remotely, call 520-432-9200 for direction. The board may permit public comment during the discussion of any item on the agenda. To speak on an agenda item or during the call to the public, complete and return the speaker request form to the clerk of the board prior to the start of the meeting. Note that some attachments may be updated after the agenda is published. This means that some presentation materials displayed at the board meeting may differ slightly from the attached version. To begin our meeting today, as usual, we will have the call to the public. And I have several people signed up to speak today. This is the time for the public to comment. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. So we're just going to go in order. I have Jeff Sturgis first. And if each of you, when you come to the podium, if you would say your name and your address, and then we'll start a timer. You have 3 minutes. There's an indicator right by you there.
My name is Jeff Sturgis. I live at 1380 East Loma Lane in Sierra Vista. Good morning. I have lived in Cochise County for over half my life. I draw my retirement from 3 different agencies within the county: the U.S. Forest Service, the County Emergency Medical Service, and Cochise College. I come here to remind the board of some facts, ask them some questions, and to ask voters to consider these facts and questions. Here are the facts. Robert Montgomery, the chair of the Cochise County Republican Committee, has been appointed by Supervisor Tom Crosby to the County Planning and Zoning Commission. Fact, on today's agenda, included in Resolution 22-24, is the proposal to appoint Montgomery to the Palominas Fire District Board. Fact, Montgomery was one of 11 fake electors who signed a document sent to the U.S. Senate and National Archives stating that Donald Trump had won the state's electoral votes. The document falsely asserted that these fake electors were the, quote, duly elected and qualified presidential electors. The evidence of Montgomery's role in this scheme was made available by the Arizona Republican Party itself in the form of his signature on the fake document, which I show here. A photo of him standing in the other fake electors, which I show here, and a video of the signing of the document. Here is the video screenshot of that signing. Fact, according to legal experts, Montgomery, along with the other fake electors, may be guilty of serious criminal offenses, including forgery, unauthorized use of our state's official seal, and attempting to defraud Arizona residents of a fair election process. 3, Arizona fake electors, as well as other Republicans, have already been served with the U.S. federal grand jury subpoenas. Question: why did Tom Crosby appoint a fake elector to the Planning and Zoning Commission? Question: will the Board of Supervisors vote today to appoint a fake elector to the Palomitas Fire District Board? Question: what will stop Republicans like Montgomery from attempting to subvert future elections and the rule of law, without which we will all be living under an authoritarian regime?
So that's all. Thank you very much. That's all the time you have. We will move on to our next speaker. That's Clyde Morris. Please come to the podium.
Good morning. My name is Clyde Morris and I live in Sierra Vista. Thank you, County Commissioners, for allowing me to address you. I appreciate your respect for the democratic system where elected officials pay attention to the citizens who elected them. That is why I'm so shocked that you appointed a known enemy of this country's democratic process to an important county position of power and influence. I'm talking about Robert Montgomery, who was one of the 11 fake electors who sent their signed document to Washington, D.C., claiming that Trump had won the election. Evidence has already been presented of these facts. Why do I call it a crime? Because he tried to overturn our legal process for selecting or electing the President of the United States. Our Arizona statutes call for the Secretary of State to determine the Arizona electors and use of the Great Seal of the state to send their names to Washington, D.C. Montgomery illegally signed the document claiming that he was an official elector and used this document with the official seal of the state of Arizona to overturn or try to overturn the results of our election. These are criminal acts, I believe. Besides being criminal, this means Montgomery tried to throw out the valid votes of all of our citizens of Arizona. If he had been successful, he would have robbed me of my right to vote for the president. He was trying to overturn the results of all of our votes, including yours. He tried to overturn the fundamental right to choose our elected officials. When you elected him to be on the Cochise County Planning and Zoning Commission and are now considering to appoint him to the district, Palomitas Fire District, I hope that when you originally selected him, that you didn't know of his criminal actions that tried to overturn our state's citizens' right to vote. I ask you to remove Montgomery, an enemy of our democratic process, from that position that you've already selected and no longer attempt to select him for this new position. I also understand that he's the chair of the Cochise County Republican Committee. I have respect for this long-serving party. In its history, great people have been leaders of the Republican Party, including President Lincoln and our own Senator John McCain. I am dumbfounded why our county's Republican Party can now be led by this enemy of our democratic process. Thank you for letting me address you today.
Thank you. Next up is John Sawyer.
Good morning. My name is John Sawyer. I live in Sierra Vista on Langan Avenue. And before beginning my remarks, I'd like to thank the board for this opportunity to make a few observations and also for the good work they do for this county. I'm taking a broader view than those gentlemen about election integrity and the rule of law. I say election integrity would be a nice thing to have. The rule of law is also a thing to be desired. These things have their place, a central place in our American democracy. However, the past 2 years, events have revealed that those things have no place in today's Republican Party. Democracy itself is on the ballot. Only 5 days ago, every member of the House of Representatives not up for re-election voted against the extremely non-controversial Presidential Election Reform Act, essentially voting against sending electors to Congress for the candidates that won. This is the chink in the armor of our beautiful democracy that the MAGA insurrectionists and apparently, at this point, the entire GOP sought and still seek to exploit, disenfranchise millions and millions of voters. Their hope is transparently to sow confusion and destroy the legitimacy of elections. This is in fact the opposite of election integrity. Just yesterday it was revealed that the former president's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, was in regular communication with a conspiracy fanatic whose goal was to illegally confiscate voting machines from 6 states after the former president was defeated by more than 7 million votes. An idea that had already been floated in the Oval Office. This is the opposite of the rule of law. I could go on, however, it would require 3 hours, not 3 minutes, to list the chicanery and criminality. I have to confess that today I find myself waxing nostalgic, reminiscing. It is with surprise, but also with fond memories that I recall the names of Gerald Ford, Ronald Reagan, George Bush, G.W. Bush, Dick Cheney, John McCain, Mitt Romney, and Rusty Bowers, who was rejected by the GOP in Arizona just a few weeks ago for the twin sins of honesty and integrity. All lifelong Republicans, all as conservative as the day is long. Men I seldom agreed with on matters of policy, but men who understood, were part of, and supported the American system of governance. Though they were imperfect, as we all are, they dwelt in the real world of facts. Facts, not conspiracy, lies, deceit, in the case of the wanton insurrection, treason. Not a ridiculously, completely non-American cult of personality, which is what we seem to be seeing from the right wing right now. All those Republicans, or rhinos, I guess, the current GOP call them, either have or would have can't afford.
That's all the time you have.
I was just getting to the good part.
Thank
Okay.
you. Apologize.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Joseph Patterson. State your name and your address.
Good morning, Joseph Patterson, physician, retired from Sierra Vista, 2872 Palmer. Good morning. Good morning to everyone, actually. And as I'm sitting here listening, I'm thinking just what I was thinking before I got here. We're facing a crisis of trust. Truly, I mean, the division, the distrust and the division is just tearing us apart. And it doesn't have to be. Basically, what we have proposed to the members of the board and also to David Stevens is a way that we can solve this problem. We talked with Mr. Stevens, unfortunately can't be here today, but before he left, and asked him, you know, there's so much distrust. What can we do to have election results that we can trust, that everybody can agree on? And he said, just instantaneously, vote in person, same day, paper ballots, and hand count. And so it made us pause to think, is that possible? And come to find out, yeah, it is possible. At this stage of the game, it's not possible to do it all, but it is possible to at least do a full hand count of the votes. Now that's in addition to things running as normal, using machines, and this is purely a backup or a check on the system, which should be in place anyway. So what we're hoping for is to gain trust, regain trust, restore faith in our government and one another, be able to trust the results that we see. Everybody agree because it's been verified. We all agree. If you don't like it, you know, that's the way it is. Move on. But let's support and move for at least a full hand count to back up the normal process of this election. It's just critical.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hutchison. Okay, so we have Tricia Gerardetti next. And I always pronounce her name wrong, so. Are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you-
Okay, so when you announce your name, I'll hear it again.
Okay. This is Tricia Gerardetti, and I live in Sierra Vista. And I wanted to address the board at a different level than what we're hearing from previous speakers. And that is to ask if there are guidelines, regulations even, somewhere in county regulations that guide background of people that are appointed to various boards and then become public officials. So while I fully know that it's a fact that Robert Montgomery was one of the fake electors, he has not yet been charged with a crime. He may be. That may take quite some time, but he may eventually be charged with a crime. Do we have guidelines for how someone could then remain on a board as a public official? How someone who had been charged and is in the process, can they remain a public official or be appointed? If they're not convicted, presumably they can go back to being an ordinary citizen. But I'm wondering if there are guidelines and if someone in county government can point me in the right direction. And if there aren't guidelines, maybe it would be appropriate to start thinking about some. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker will be Debbie Hickman.
Hello, I'm Debbie Hickman and I live in Hereford. And I came here to find the answer or ask you the question too of something, okay? So I'm going to start out with an anecdotal data. My husband and I were watching TV and here comes all this news unraveling about the fake electors and oh good grief. And suddenly my husband says, why aren't these people afraid of burning in hell? Now, I wasn't surprised by the question because we both had a Catholic school raising, and certainly we were accustomed to that kind of thing, and we probably should have degrees in guilt. I don't know, probably 10 of them. But anyway, so the next thing I did was look up online all of the references to lying, cheating, fraud. There are 100 concordances that make up that part of the internet. And so I just thought, wow, how do these people violate? Because I think a lot of Republicans everyone's I meet usually carry quite a badge for Christianity. So I looked up some of these things. And I mean, it's kind of amusing, but here's a quote. There's 100 of them, remember, but I don't tell you them all. But from Proverbs, it says, bread gained by deceit is sweet to a man, but afterwards his mouth will be full of gravel. And he's really, I mean, I don't know who you are, but God is really, really pissed. And so is Jesus, by the way, because of all of this fraudulent stuff going on. And the word fake is fraudulent. Okay. And then there's one. In fact, he's even going to put you in a lake that burns with fire and sulfur. Oh, this is from Revelation. And which is the second death, which, yeah, I don't get that one either. And then I could go on and on. I could go on. But you see, when they violate both the constitutional laws of this land and then their own beliefs, I can't see how anybody can trust them at all. And it just is really remarkable. And let's see, I was going to... So anyway, so I kind of don't even understand how they can live in such a conflicting mind, because there's so much in their Christian religion. Okay.
Can you please state your address before you step down? And if everyone else will remember.
5681 South Molson Road.
Thank you. All right. The next speaker is Christy S. Brown.
Good morning. My name is Christy Brown. I live at 4569 South Borough in Sierra Vista. I have lived and voted in Sierra Vista for 35 years. I've worked the early board with the Cochise County Election Department, volunteered as an election day poll observer, and as an active precinct chairperson, witnessed logic and accuracy test of voting equipment at the Cochise County Election Office. I trust the results of our Arizona election. I understand the delay in confirming election results, considering the effort to count early ballots, review provisional ballots, signature validation processes. I believe our election director, Lisa, is doing a fine job and believes in our county and state election results. My question is, why has Cochise County Board of Supervisors appointed Richard Montgomery to positions in the Cochise County Planning and Zoning Commission and Palominas Fire District Board? It is well known from Arizona GOP issued press release, video, photos posted on social media that Mr. Montgomery was one of 11 Arizona fake electors. He sent signed notarized certificate to the National Archives purporting to be electoral votes for Trump, despite the fact that former Vice President Joe Biden won Arizona by 10,500 votes. As one of the Arizona fake electors, Mr. Montgomery was a participant in the conspiracy to overturn our legitimate 2020 election process and transition of power. Although our local newspaper refuses to report on the investigation and the local relevance, Mr. Montgomery's fellow fake elector conspirators are known to have been subpoenaed by the Department of Justice, the U.S. House of Representatives, January 6th Select Committee investigation. Others involved in the fake elector overturn are known to be under investigation. So I could go on a minute. Although in America everyone is innocent until proven guilty, I wish Cochise County would be more selective in county appointments. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next speaker is Steven Saraski. Get a chance to correct your name for me.
You spelled it right, Saraski. I'm Steve Saraski, retired chief engineer in New York City. I have two questions. There's two questions for the board. How and when are those voting machines certified? Are they properly maintained? It's just from my construction background, I'm just interested in that kind of thing. Most important thing is machinery needs to be maintained to work properly. So are the voting machines properly maintained?
That is something you can get from our staff, and we aren't allowed to make direct interaction
That's
with
basically
you.
my question. That's just
Okay.
because of my background. Thank you for your time.
We'll be glad to get back to you on that. Thank you. All right. The next speaker is Daniel LaChance.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's Daniel LaChance, and I'm from Sierra Vista. So I guess some people will say that I'm an activist. I'll say that I'm here to protect the country, to protect our Constitution, and I've got skin in the game. 34 years all around the world protecting the country, protecting the Constitution in places a lot of you would never want to be. In fact, I didn't want to be in some of them, but I had to be there. So this is about election integrity. I'm really shocked at some of the information I'm hearing from other people, but we all have our reasons for being here. And it's pretty clear now that there's a lot of discomfort about the election. And we have to get to the bottom of it. We just have to solve it. We can't keep destroying ourselves like this. So I'm going to flash back real quick to 3 November 22. I'm a ballot judge at one of the Cochise County election centers. At 5:55 a.m. on the morning of the election, I'm directed to download an update and install it to our ballot machines. Immediately upon that moment, decertifying those machines, okay? No longer decertified. Continue on through the election. 24% of the people who came before me to want to vote claimed they had lost their mail-in ballot, and we still had to give them a provisional ballot, and they still had to vote. They still got a chance to vote. But that was one center. Think about Arizona-wide, how often that may have happened. Move on. ID verification and signature verification. Impossible. In many cases, most signatures couldn't be done on the screens. You just can't write them on the screens. They don't work, so you can't verify them. You can't even see a signature in many cases, okay? They didn't work. Move on. Fox calls the Arizona election before the evening rush. Instead of hundreds of people coming in, we get 4 additional people come in to vote. So they suppressed the turnout. But yet Fox isn't called to the carpet on that. They aren't asked why did they suppress the vote, okay? So we don't have anything on that. There's many other improprieties that we've learned about for the past 2 years and more, and we just don't have the sense, the facts are out there that there has been a big bunch of improprieties done. We don't have anything to prove that there weren't improprieties, okay? Far too many to mention. When I stated these issues to the elections director, I was told, we run clean elections, do not contact me again. So I had to walk away. I hope that our legislature would make the necessary changes to election laws to ensure transparency and integrity. That's all we're asking for. That's all we want. Instead, Rusty Bowers, Vince Leach, and others tabled the necessary legislation, and critical changes were not made. Fast forward to approximately 1 month ago. Well, I'm not going to get to make all my discussion about it, but I'll just say we need to have free and fair elections. We can best do this by including a hand count in the process. If we do a hand count, we can verify our elections, and that's what we need to do, and I hope that everybody will do that. Thank you.
The next speaker is Rebecca Richardson.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Richardson, and I'm from Sierra Vista. I live on Corta Vista. I have lived in Cochise County for more than 30 years, and in those 30 years, I have every single time exercised my right to vote, as I did every time there was an election since I was 18 years old. Free and fair elections are the hallmark of a vigorous democracy, along with the right to free political speech without fear of retribution, and the right to have a free press report on what is happening in our great nation. Today I am exercising my right to free speech in order to announce my dismay at the appointment of Robert Montgomery to a county office and the attempt to appoint him once again. Over the last year, I have followed many of the GOP press who have been reporting that my right to vote was attempted, at least, to be stolen from me. 11 fake electors were selected to steal my vote and the vote of thousands of others in Arizona. I am very dismayed that one of these fake electors has been appointed to a county office, and I ask that you reconsider the appointment today that you are planning to make, that we restore election integrity in the county and in the state. And I further ask that our press report freely and accurately about this matter throughout the county. I think most of us have relied on national news to get this information, and some news coming out of Phoenix. But I would appreciate if the Herald Review would also report what is happening in our county. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today.
Our next speaker is Jennifer Druckman.
Morning, my name is Jennifer Druckman. I live on Cameo Street in Bisbee. Robert Montgomery, the chair of the Cochise County Republican Committee, was one of the 11 fake electors who on December 14, 2020, signed a document sent by certified mail to the U.S. Senate and National Archives stating that Donald Trump and Mike Pence had won the state's electoral votes. The document falsely asserted that 11 Arizona phony electors were duly elected and qualified presidential electors. The fake document signed by Montgomery and others carried the official state seal of Arizona. Arizona Revised Statute 41-130 requires people to get Secretary of State's permission to use, display, or otherwise employ any likeness or resemblance of the state seal, which fake electors did not do. Statute 41-130 states that any person who knowingly violates this section is guilty of a Class 3 misdemeanor. Arizona Revised Statute 16-590 states that a person who knowingly impersonates any election official is guilty of a Class 6 felony. U.S. Criminal Code 52 U.S. Code Section 20511 states that whoever knowingly and willingly deprives, defrauds, or attempts to deprive residents of a state of a fairly and impartially conducted election process shall be fined in accordance with Title 18 or imprisoned for up to 5 years or both. As reported by many national media outlets, Robert Montgomery and other fake electors were part of a bigger plan to overturn the constitutional process of selecting a president, which included thousands of rioters supporting Trump supporters who gathered in Washington on January 6th to demand Vice President Mike Pence and Congress reject Biden's victory. Robert Montgomery thus aided the insurrection, even though he did not personally engage in violence, by delaying Congress's election certification proceedings. Therefore, Mr. Montgomery could be guilty of several criminal offenses, violate our state constitutions, and violate the oath of office. Regardless of whether he's guilty of these, he is certainly guilty of attempting to deny others their right to have their votes counted. He tried to throw out the will of the people, and this included us, of course. After he was participated in the fake elector scheme, he was appointed to the Cochise County Planning and Zoning Commission. Democracy is on the ballot this November, and voters need to know that the chair of the Cochise County Republican Committee, member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and member of the Palominas Fire District Board have worked to subvert our democracy. Voters should know that the Cochise County Board of Supervisors appointed Mr. Montgomery to his position after his role in the fake conspiracy was known. And I think that's all I want to say. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
The next speaker is Joni Giacomino.
Greetings. My name is Joni Giacomino. I'm
There we
from Bisbee. I live on Lowell Avenue. I've been a resident of Arizona my whole life. I'm third generation Bisbonian, and my relatives migrated or immigrated here from Italy in the early 1800s. So I've been here a while, and so has my family. We've considered Cochise County our home and Arizona our home. And we have always been very active in the voting process and have had confidence in our local officials and the process in Cochise County until now. Robert Montgomery is a name that continues to surface in relationship to Mr. Crosby and the county supervisors. Mr. Montgomery's background continues to be questionable. Perception is a very damning concept when the perception that is now being demonstrated is that Mr. Crosby and the supervisors support this person who has very questionable qualifications for government or political involvement. Shouldn't someone with less controversial ties be considered instead of someone who leans so far into controversy? Again, perception is what most people base their beliefs and opinions on, and the perception that is screaming out is that his appointment is from extremist views, and unfortunately this will continue to place Arizona and Cochise County in a very negative light. I do request the county supervisors to reconsider this appointment and reconsider his appointment for anything in Cochise County, because it does affect us, affects all Arizonans, and it affects all Cochise County. Thank you.
Next speaker is Catherine Welch.
Good morning. My name is Catherine Welch. I live on Shattuck Street in Bisbee. I also have a family who's been in continuous residence in Cochise County since the late 1800s, so this is our home. I'm here today to officially go on record. I want this to be on record because apparently the Herald Review doesn't really have an interest in reporting the news, or maybe the news as they see fit. But Robert Montgomery has been on our radar for a while. I don't know if people are thinking about this or not, but it has been 652 days since Robert Montgomery signed the document as a fake elector in the state of Arizona along with his other cohorts, and sent it certified mail to the U.S. government. Now, the information about the fake elector scam that's been going on in this country, it's not a secret. 652 days. Information is out. Millions and millions of people are aware of these issues that we have, and investigations have indeed been started. I think that there's something that is shocking and absolutely shameful that the Board of Supervisors would appoint someone to positions of influence and authority using taxpayer money when you already know that this man participated in this. Now, I will say Robert Montgomery can do what he wants to do as a private person. No issue with me. However, when he's doing it on the county's dime and at the risk of our election integrity, then that's a hard no. That is absolutely a hard no on that. And I hope that the board will consider and not add even more stain and mistrust to your jobs that you're supposed to be doing for the people who elected you. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the call to the public.
Madam Chair.
Yes. Oh.
Assistant
yes,
Chair.
Response.
Pardon?
What did you
What is
say
your
you
title?
had? I am
Vice Chair.
Vice Chair.
Okay. I have a question for Ms. Roberts, which is, if my name is mentioned in the call to the public, isn't there an exception to the rule that a board member cannot reply?
Under the open meeting law, for calls to the public, the board is prohibited from discussing anything that is not an agenda item with the members of the public. You are limited to 3 options. The options are to direct staff to investigate, to direct staff to put something on a future agenda, or to respond to a criticism of the board member of the public body themselves.
Okay, I think I've been criticized, so I'd like to reply, which is, Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution says the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a Republican form of government, et cetera, et cetera. Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. Clause 2, Article 2, Clause 2, each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature may thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress, but no senator or representative or person holding an office of trust or profit under the United States shall be appointed an elector. So that says clearly the legislature picks the electors. And I'm going to go to the Arizona Constitution.
Mr. Crosby, I don't know that this is a response to what you have been accused of. Can I get a verification on that?
Why did you interrupt? I got one more paragraph to read. Okay, this is in response to the criticism directed at me,
Okay.
which has to do with Robert Montgomery and his propriety or impropriety being picked as an elector.
Okay, please proceed.
This is the Arizona Constitution having to do with the separation of powers. The powers of the government of the state of Arizona shall be divided into 3 separate departments: the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. And except as provided in this Constitution, no such departments shall be separate and distinct, and no one of such departments shall exercise the powers properly belonging to the others. So that's where I am hanging my hat, having to do with election integrity and the 2020 election. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I am going to have to bring us back. I never actually closed the call to the public, which is good because we just had a person sign in to speak just now. William J. Hargis. And I'm guessing he's online. Can you help me with that, Mr. Maddox?
Madam Chair, I am looking to see if he is online, and at this point I'm not seeing his name.
Okay. Hey, I just was handed this and it was given to me, a proper thing to just move on, right? Okay. All right. So the next item on the agenda is our presentation by Brian Trevino. He is an HR generalist. Wow. I didn't know we had one of those. And Daniela Reed-Miller, the HAPI program manager. So please come forward.
Good morning, everyone. And good morning, Vice Chair and members of the board. All right, I'm Brian Trevino, as stated, Human Resources Generalist with our wonderful HR department. And with me is Daniela Reed-Miller from our Cochise Health and Social Services. All right. We're pleased to share some information regarding recognition that Cochise County received from the Healthy Arizona Work Sites Program, also known as HOP. And I'll pass it on to Daniela.
Good morning. The Healthy Arizona Work Sites Program is an initiative through the Arizona Department of Health since 2012. This program offers organizations professional training, tools, and resources to create healthier work environments and a healthier workplace. All of it at no cost. Locally, Cochise Health and Social Services offers this program where Cochise County is an organization participant.
Alrighty. So a little bit about HOP and Cochise County. Cochise County has received recognition for the Healthy Arizona Worksites program for offering multiple health and wellness resources to our employees. Some of those are including cardiac and organ screenings, healthy heart blood draw, cancer screenings, comprehensive eye exams, and many more. We also have our fitness and nutrition resources available for our employees through the Worksite Fitness Plus program that's administered through Cochise Health and Social Services. In May of 2022, you approved Lactation Accommodation Policy 2234, which we benefited through this HOP program. And our new employee assistance program that is administered through SupportLink now offers us 5 free counseling sessions to our employees and members of their household.
So a little bit about the Platinum Award. From 2016 to 2018, Cochise County has received the HOP Gold Award and the Platinum Award since 2019. The difference between the Platinum Award and the other levels is that we have to have the ability to implement a project that will impact not only the wealth and health of our employees, but also the community. So this year, Human Resources, in collaboration with Cochise Health and Social Services, apply and receive the HOP Platinum Award for their efforts with the project Volunteer Cochise that was implemented in 2018.
Now, what does that mean for us? What positive impact does that have, right? So wellness opportunities can provide early detection for various health issues for our employees and also for dependents, allowing them to be proactive about their own health. Healthy employees are productive employees, and their health has a positive impact on premiums for all of us. Cochise County employees are able to make a positive impact in the community through the Volunteer Coaches Program, as mentioned in the previous slide. Your approval of the lactation policy allowed us to achieve a higher score on this Platinum Award. It is improvements like these that allow us to better the health and well-being of our employees, and we thank you all for that. All right. Vice Chair and members of the board, we thank you so much for your time and the opportunity to be able to present this award.
And thank you for your presentation. Are there any comments? Would any members of the board like to say anything? I just want to say this is something that we can work together on, and I've participated in a few of the opportunities as well. I know that it really benefits our staff and their families and the community as a whole. I didn't recognize we were getting awards. I want to say congratulations.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We do have some people who would like to speak on item number 2 and are prepared to remove that from the agenda. So if we can have a motion on items 1 and 3 through 7.
Madam, I move that we approve consent agenda items 1 and 3 through 7.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The Vice Chair votes aye, and the motion carries. Item number 2. It was 3 through 8.
I'm sorry.
Can we
Madam
vote
Vice
on
Chair.
item number 8?
Item number 8.
Okay. Consent agenda item number 8.
And what are we doing with item number 2?
It's on a,
8 is on the consent agenda.
so we need to include a motion.
Oh, okay.
I misstated.
That's all right.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda items 1 and 3 through 8.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion carries. Okay, item number 2 is going to immediately follow at this time. And so it is to adopt Resolution 22 through 24, approving the cancellation of uncontested board elections for special district governing boards. It is per statute, and we do have a presentation by Ms. Lisa Mara, our Director of Elections.
Good morning, Vice Chair, Supervisor Crosby. Before you this morning is a resolution to cancel certain special districts and approving those individuals as elected. This is allowed in statute, and its purpose is to save special districts the cost of an election, which can range from a minimum of $800 up to several $1,000s. This provision in the law only applies to special and school districts when the number of persons who file nomination petitions or write-ins is less than or equal to the number of positions to be filled for the special district. It's not allowed to cancel a city, town, county, or state election. And that really is the heart of the presentation. This is a standard function we do every 2 years to save these districts the funds. They are notified that they have a certain number of filing people by the clerk of the board, Mr. Maddox, and the election is set to be canceled and those folks duly elected to their office.
So just to clarify, canceled only if there are the same number of positions as people who applied to be on the ballot, right, or less?
Or less.
Correct,
okay.
Vice Chair, or less.
Okay.
Then if they have 3 seats open and 3 people file, it's assumed those 3 people would win.
Will be appointed.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. Ms. Mara, what is the difference between deemed elected versus appointed, for instance, by the Board of Supervisors?
If you're appointed by the board, that's usually not a function that's under special districts. I would leave that up to our Chief Civil Deputy to clarify. But the special district boards appoint people to their boards. Something you would appoint people to is a county board. These are special district taxing boards.
Okay, so what about the, in the case of a fire district, what would be the procedure as far as appointment versus deemed elected for a fire district?
So, Vice Chair, Supervisor Crosby, there are several fire districts, actually all of them that had openings are canceled. The only special district that is on the ballot for an election that had more people file than they had seats open for is Bowie Water District. So it would be the same process. If the elections are canceled, those people are under statute, it's called appointed, duly elected. It's just as if they had gone and been voted on and elected. They have all the same powers.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Mara.
And then to follow on that, because I mentioned appointed earlier, so I want to retract that. But this is more a function of the election office by approving what you're asking us to approve, or what we need to approve right now. We're not actually appointing any of these people. They are deemed eligible through the process, and this is a statute that tells us that they will be actually put in place in that office.
Madam Vice Chair, that's correct. This is required of the Board of Supervisors to cancel these elections, but all of these special district taxing boards who manage their own elections that retain us to conduct them have been notified this without issue.
All right. All right. We have 2 speakers. Thank you, Ms.
Madam
Merrick.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
If I may, before you proceed, Supervisor English is online. She was muted for background noise, so if we could just have a moment for her to unmute whenever
When
a
we
vote
vote?
or motion is.
Wonderful. That's good news. Maybe we could have a motion on the floor first, and then we'll listen to our speakers. We should have had that prior to Ms. Mara.
Madam Vice Chair, I move we adopt Resolution 22-24 approving the cancellation of uncontested board elections for special district governing boards listed pursuant to ARS 16-410 and appoint the candidates who filed for the special district governing board or declare the seats vacant if an insufficient number of candidates, giving all those appointed the same powers and duties in accordance with the law.
I'll second that. And now we have two speakers. They are, well, one actually has just requested that their name be read in opposition. I'm going to move that ahead a little bit. That is Joan A. Murphy of 1132 Quail Hollow Drive, Sierra Vista. She would like to speak in opposition to this item number 2. The second speaker is Patricia V. Fleming, who would, I believe, has joined us online because I don't see her in the room. So if she would like to speak on this topic now.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Patricia Fleming. I live at 3321 East Ojibwa Street in Sierra Vista. I've been a resident of Cochise County for the most part of the last 53 years. I'm here today to stand in opposition to a specific candidate listed in that item number 2 that you're discussing. My opposition is specifically and solely to the appointment of Cochise County resident Robert Montgomery to the Palominas Fire District Board. Mr. Montgomery currently holds a position of trust and leadership as an appointed member of the Cochise County Planning and Zoning Commission, and he no longer is a valid member or should not be a member of that commission. As such, Mr. Montgomery took an oath swearing to protect and defend the U.S. and Arizona constitutions. Mr. Montgomery's well-documented actions of December 14, 2020 are in direct opposition to such an oath. Robert Montgomery obviously, willingly, and without reservation signed the document falsely declaring Donald Trump as the winner of the 2020 presidential election, even though Donald Trump did not receive the majority of Arizona's electoral votes. Montgomery, again, falsely declared himself a duly elected and qualified Arizona presidential elector, impersonating as an election official. As I understand it, impersonation of an election official is a class action felony. Montgomery's actions here in itself is enough to disqualify him from holding any appointed or elected public office now and at any time in the future. And while I find these actions to call out a wrongdoing very regretful, it is extremely important. I still, if possible, respectfully ask you to remove Robert Montgomery from consideration for appointment for any future position within our county. And now today on the 2022 Special District Candidate List relating to the Palominas Fire District. Thank you so much for your time, and I will sign off right now.
Thank you. That is the only public speakers we had on this item. So I'm going to ask if anyone on the board would like to comment on that item number 2 or has any questions.
I would reiterate my quotes of the constitutional sections that I already said.
Okay, noted. Having Miss English on the phone, I feel like I might want to give her an opportunity if she can speak on that. Okay, hearing none, we will call for the vote now. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The Vice Chair votes aye. We might have a vote. Not hearing anything at this time, but the motion does carry with 2 votes. Okay, so now we're moving on to item number 9, and that is Adopt Zoning Ordinance 22-18 to revert zoning from SR8, single family resident, to R36. And we have a presentation by Mr. Dan Coxworth, the Director of Public
Development Services.
Okay. And we need a motion first. So do you mind holding on just a second?
Madam Chair, I move we adopt zoning ordinance 2218 to revert the zoning from SR8, single family residential, 1 dwelling per 8,000 square feet, to R36, residential, minimum lot size 36,000 square feet on parcels 408-03-002 and 408-03-0038 pursuant to a county-initiated request.
And I will second that. So now, Mr. Foxworth.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. This, in the process of digitizing our historical records and confirming that our online zoning layer is correct, we sometimes come across rezonings such as this from 2007 that increased the density of 257 acres just northwest of Douglas from R36, which is minimum lot size of 36,000 square feet, to SR8, a minimum lot size of 8,000 square feet, with a condition requiring a subdivision plat within 18 months of approval. The subdivision plat has not been submitted and the area has not grown or developed as anticipated, and staff is asking the board to take action to revert the zoning back to R36. Just a map of the general location of the properties, the two subject properties. They are located along Highway 191. Across the street is RU4 zoning, and the other zoning surrounding the property is R36. So it is consistent with the existing zoning in the area. And staff does recommend approval of reverting the zoning. Happy to answer any questions you have.
I'm trying to figure out how big is 8,000 square feet. Is that in terms of the typical house, like 3-bedroom, 2-car garage house? That's a typical lot size for suburbia?
That is fairly typical for suburbia. You primarily see these lot sizes in Sierra Vista. So 1 acre is 43,560 square feet. So 8,000 square feet is barely a quarter, not even a quarter of an acre. So they're fairly small.
36,000 then again would be closer to an acre. Okay. I don't see any issue with that, especially with the rural nature, the area that it's in, and RU4 right across the road. So, okay. Does Mr. Cosby have anything?
No, I asked one question I had already.
All right. Well, we're ready for a vote.
Supervisor, sorry.
It is a public
Vice Chairman, Ted, you need to open the public hearing.
I'm going to open a public hearing on that item number 9, that zoning ordinance that Mr. Coxworth just described. Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on that? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. All right. We have had a motion and a second for item number 9. If all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We did recognize you. Thank you, Madam Chair. And the Vice Chair votes aye. We have a unanimous vote on item number 9. Item number 10, adopt zoning ordinance 2219 to rezone parcel 107-23-030B from R36 to dwelling to light industry. We will have a presentation after a motion, and I'll remember the public hearing.
Okay, I move we adopt zoning ordinance 22-19 to rezone parcel 107-23-030B from R36 residential 1 dwelling per 36,000 square feet to LI light industry pursuant to the application of Diamond AR LLC.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Kirschman, are you on the line with us?
I am. Good morning, Vice Chair Judd. Are you able to hear me and see my screen this morning?
We can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There we go. All right, so the applicant is Diamond ARLC. It is located on 10 Pond Place, north of Little, Michigan, near Sierra Vista. Parcels identifies 107-23-030B. Parcel size approximately 0.85 acres. Currently it is zoned 1 dwelling per 36,000 square feet, and the proposed zoning is light industry. It is in a Category A urban growth area. The plan designation is developing. There's no area plan in the area. existing uses, it's vacant, and it is proposed to have some type of product distribution, but all uses allowed under the light industrial would be permitted with this rezoning. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of this request to the board at their meeting of September 14th. This is an aerial of the site. Parcels highlighted in yellow. You can see it is in an area of existing industrial and heavy commercial type uses. This is the zoning of the area, so directly to the south it is general business. To the east it is light industry, and to the west it is residential. We have 6 factors in favor of approving the request. 1, the request complies with the 13 applicable rezoning factors used by staff to analyze this request. We did receive 1 letter of support. The request would be in keeping with the character of the existing development in the area. The request would provide additional area for business expansions. The request is a logical expansion of the existing commercial and industrial land use districts, and the comprehensive plan supports rezoning to LI. We did not identify any factors against. Here are some photographs of the site in the area. So the top left photo, that is of the site. Bottom left, that is the road coming to the property. It does transition from pavement to dirt. The applicant is conditioned to verify that there is right-of-way for that road and or obtain and provide that, and then improve the road along their entire frontage. The upper right shows some of the existing tow yard and other commercial and industrial businesses, and then just our notice that we posted on the property. With that, the Plan and Zoning Commission did have a conditional recommendation for conditional approval, and the condition is there on the screen. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have this morning.
I don't have any. Do any of the other supervisors? Thank you, Chairman English.
I have a question.
Yes, we have a question.
Mr. Kurtzman, I'm looking at this map with the big N and the arrow, and I'm wondering what the red indicates versus the non-shaded area. Is that the city boundary, or is the city boundary at Schmader? I can't remember.
No, yeah, the city boundary is not here. It is close. It's further to the west, but no, the shade. I got a feeling that was just a probably an issue in our color, or possibly another layer hiding under, but it is all light industrial in that area.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious about what the city boundary is, because of course that's where the water purification facility is very close to there. So I was just kind of curious why it fell into our hands. But nonetheless, I'm happy to see a business come to life there.
If there are no other comments by the board, I'm going to open the public hearing on item number 10, this adoption of zoning ordinance changing R36 to light industry. The opportunity for any of the public to speak, and I don't see anyone here or hear anyone online, so I'm going to close the public hearing and we'll vote on this item. There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Then the motion carries unanimously. Okay, item number 11, adopt zoning ordinance 2220 to approve docket R2202, and I'm just going to go ahead and call for a motion here.
Madam Chair, I move we adopt zoning ordinance 22-20 to approve docket R22-02 definitions and amendment to the county zoning regulations.
We have a motion and a second. Cochise County zoning regulations change again. Mr. Kirschman, would you please present this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and other board members. So I do have a presentation this evening. This is a fairly simple request by staff. We have 2 definitions in our code that do not just simply define what the item is or the use is, but it actually provides the regulations for that use. One such is the home occupation. So we have no other section in the code that addressed home occupation. So whenever somebody wanted to know what was required of a home occupation, we'd refer them to the definition section. So all this is doing is pulling it out of the definitions. We'll leave a basic definition in there, and we're establishing it where it actually belongs in the regulations under section 1719. The other definition is for minimum site area. Again, we're not making any changes. We're not making new applications, new fees. It's simply moving these two definitions out of the definition section and into the actual standards and regulations. And that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Well, I would like you to just briefly tell us what those are. So what the two items you're moving are. You did very briefly say it was home occupation, but
Yep. Yeah, so it is home occupation. That's the first definition, and the second one is site area minimum.
All right.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I move that this motion be tabled until we can, I want to see it in writing and go over it, and I have not. For some reason, I didn't see that on my agenda quick program, so I would like further time to look at that.
Ms. Vice Chair and Member Crosby, they were uploaded in Citizen Serve. We both had a staff report as well as an exhibit included in there. And so they both were included in the packet. I apologize if you didn't see those. But again, it's not making any changes. It's simply moving the definitions into code.
I believe, well, I made the motion.
There is no second. Don't hear a second, and I'm not willing to second that to table it. I would like to recognize at this time that when they're not changing anything, all they're doing is saying refer to definition. They're just removing refer to definition and bringing the actual definition over. So that does, in effect, not change anything. We've had it described. I mean, it's fairly lengthy.
Can you explain it to me, Madam Chair?
Can I explain what that means?
No, explain this issue to me.
I just said it. So it's not an issue. It is something that is written word for word in a definition, and we are making a reference to it each time we come to the zoning regulation.
Do you have a copy of those words and definitions available to you?
I could pull it up. I read it. So I think that we're being asked for more in-depth description besides just the heading of the item, and I am not willing to read that right now. I mean, I can pull it up and explain it better, but Mr. Kirschman also has it in front
that's
of
okay.
him.
You know, I made the motion and I'm willing for the vote to take place. So my point was that I don't see the issue plainly in front of me, either on the big screen or on paper. Now, if it is here and I just don't have it, that's possible. But anyway, carry on.
Okay.
I understand that I'm not willing to keep this for another time. It seems like it's almost a non-issue. What they're doing is clarifying so that the public can find the information rather than having to look in a definition.
That's a good point. It isn't changing any of the wording, and I could describe it probably better. Mr. Kirschman could describe it better, but we are not changing any thoughts in this process or any requirements in this process, just moving a definition into the actual regulations. That was referred to in the regulations and missing in the regulations. So I'm going to go ahead and call for our public, because this is a public hearing. I'm going to open the public hearing on item number 11. So is there anyone that would like to speak to that?
Vice Chair. Vice Chair Judge, can you just clarify that the motion then dies for lack of a second?
Okay.
Thank you.
So prior to that, I need to clarify that the motion to table this item dies for lack of a second. The public hearing is open. If anyone could or wants to speak on this item in the public, hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Is there something we should wait for, Mr. Coxworth? Okay. All right. All right. So all in favor of adopting zoning ordinance 22 to move the definitions into the regulations as moved and seconded, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those not in favor.
Abstain.
Okay. So the motion carries 2 and with 1 abstaining. All right. The next action item is the County Treasurer, Catherine Trawick. And while you're coming up, we'll ask for the motion item number 12.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the recommendation of the County Treasurer for the abatement of property taxes and interest on personal property and the removal of personal property tax liens on Treasurer's Certificate of Clearance number 2022-255 to 2022-289.
Okay. And I'll second that.
Good morning, Board. Did you have any questions? This, I believe, is my 5th occasion now coming with a packet of these abatements. We are closing in on over 300 properties that have been abated and removed from the tax rolls. And we just continue to plunge forward. Some of these go back clear to 2002, so it is delightful to be getting these things cleared up and more fittingly represent the actual values that are out there on the properties.
Well, thank you for doing that and keeping us updated, and also for my math quickly here is it's only 34 that I'm going to have to sign today. Since I get that job when I take over, and sometimes it's 60 or more.
Actually,
oh no,
I'm sorry to tell you that today's packet does have more than 34.
Oh no,
it has 35.
Oh, 35. Okay, whoops. Okay, all right.
Yes, it is true.
That was just kind of a glance, and then I went to speaking. Okay, well, we have a motion and a second on the floor. If there are no further questions or comments.
I just wanted to say, thank you, because it is a bad scene when you let a district know what the value is, and actually they'll never collect those taxes. So what we're trying to do is get to a place where each district, including the county, will know exactly what the value is out there that can be collected. So thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Chairman English. Okay, we have a motion and second. I will call for the vote. Now all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion carries unanimously. Our next item, thank you, Kathy. Ms. Trawick. The next item on the agenda is item number.
Bypass in the event to go to Boswell, and he's not sure.
I'm thinking we need someone to mute.
Yeah, he's kind of like, maybe he'll just want to go.
Well, maybe Mr. Maddox can handle that. Okay, item number 13 is approve intergovernmental agreement, IGA, for immunization services between Arizona Department of Health Services and Cochise Health and Social Services. And I will need a motion, and then we have Miss Alicia Thompson, I believe, or is there someone else in here?
Ms. Thompson's online.
Online, perfect. Okay, good to know that.
Arizona Department of Health Services and Cochise Health and Social Services effective July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2027 for reimbursement of services up to $118,619.
And I will second that. Okay, we have a motion.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Judd and Board of Supervisors, and I apologize for having to present remotely. I am in a public area, so hopefully there won't be too much motion behind me as I talk. There's 2 individuals that have come to the podium to help me if there are questions after I give the background on this item. The first is Myra Ibarra, who is our new Division Director for Clinical Services, and the other is Tomini Allen, who is our Immunization Coordinator. And so the background on this particular item is that this is a fee-for-service contract that reimburses Cochise County Health and Social Services for immunization services provided to our community members who are eligible for the Vaccine for Children and Vaccine for Adult programs. This grant allows us to provide immunization services to these individuals at no cost to them. And did you have any questions?
I do. Is this generally all of the vaccinations available, from shingles to all the original vaccines that children get when they're born? Okay. All the vaccines available. Okay.
So this is specific to the Vaccines for Adults and Vaccines for Children programs. We also do other vaccines through our private vaccine purchases. And so I'll let Myra and Tomini explain the difference and what vaccines are provided through each of our programs.
Okay, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
So we have vaccines for children, and that's anybody from 0 just being born. If they didn't get their hepatitis B vaccine when they were born, they can come in and get that to us until the age of 18. And we have our VFA, which is vaccines for adults, that are for any individuals that do not have insurance or are underinsured. And we also have private, if you want to go ahead and explain private.
So our private vaccines are to cover adults who are on access or have private insurance. The VFA differs from the VFC that it does not cover access adults. So we did implement that, and it covers all your shingles and all the pneumonia vaccines for adults.
Okay. All right. Well, that explains it sufficiently for that part. And actually, it answered my other question too, because I wondered what the difference was when you said it's only for vaccines for adults, but you suggested that it is everyone can get those vaccines, whether they qualify in that program or not. But this is just the funding for that program, so I understand that now. Chairman English, did you have any comments?
No, I think it's a great program. So it means it's accessible to everyone. Even if you don't have insurance, you still have the immunization program available to you and your family.
And Supervisor Crosby, did you have any comments?
Certainly. As I said months ago, I would like to have the county out of the vaccine business. I'd like to reduce socialized medicine, and the private industry can take the place of tax funding.
Okay. Thank you. And I'd just like to make another comment. It's really common for people now to get vaccines in the healthcare setting or from their doctors, or take their kids to Tucson for their pediatrician for when the baby was born, that pediatrician. And I just, going all the way back to when I had children, it's a lot less complicated to take your children to the county site. There, you don't have to wait. You just go on the day they have vaccines and they sign you in and you get the vaccine and go home. So I'm not sure that the private sector has an advantage over you providing those, and I really do appreciate it. I mean, it's been a long-standing thing. Some of my friends from Tucson would bring their kids to Wilcox to get their kids vaccinated because it was just impossible to sit in a clinic half a day to get vaccines. And okay, so anyway, thank you very much. And we already have a motion on the floor in a second, correct? Okay, we talked a lot. Okay, so this has been moved and seconded, and if there are no other comments, I would like to call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. I'm going to vote aye also, and all opposed. Okay, thank you. The carries 2-1.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the next agenda item is 14, adopt resolution 22-27 and approve intergovernmental agreement between Housing Authority of Cochise County and the City of Douglas for the Housing Authority of Cochise County to absorb housing choice voucher, and more. If we could have a motion on the floor.
Madam Chair, I move we adopt Resolution 22-27 and approve intergovernmental agreement between the Housing Authority of Cochise County and the City of Douglas for the Housing Authority of Cochise County to absorb the Housing Choice Voucher and Family Self-Sufficiency Program from the City of Douglas.
I'll second it. Oh, and we have a second from Chairman English. Okay, Anita, would you?
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair Judd, Supervisor Crosby, Chairman English, County Administration. I'll keep this short and brief, just kind of to reiterate what we've already gone over in the work session. So the background to this is in collaboration with the incorporated areas, Cochise County Board of Supervisors established the Housing Authority of Cochise County in 1976 to address housing needs in Cochise County. We serve all of Cochise County outside the city limits of Douglas. Our programs, our largest program obviously is the Housing Choice Voucher Program, in which we're allocated 493 vouchers. The Family Self-Sufficiency Program, which we have 34 participants. The Emergency Housing Vouchers, which we have 21. Housing Opportunity for Persons with AIDS, and that's a competitive grant that's a benchmark that it usually ranges between 22 and 25. And also our HUD VA supportive housing program, which the allocation is 88. So on September 13th, 2022, I met with Board of Supervisors in a work session, and we went over the IGA that we established through the collaboration of the housing, or I'm sorry, the county staff and the Douglas staff. In addition to our 493 vouchers, the IGA indicates that we'll be absorbing Douglas's existing 193 vouchers and their existing 19 family self-sufficiency participants. So that will bring our total voucher allocation to 686. And and our family self-sufficiency program will have 53 participants. However, we're expecting to lose 2 to 3 of those by the beginning of the year. So for HAC to absorb Douglas HCV and FSS program, we will be submitting the IGAs and resolutions that are approved, and Douglas has already approved both. They're part of your packet. Absorption of Douglas to HAC effective will January 1st, 2023. We will recruit 2.5 new positions, one for a full-time housing assistant, housing coordinator, and then a part-time housing inspector. And by the way, the City of Douglas has had a housing authority just a year after ours was established, so they've had a housing authority since 1977. Our budget will support that. Our administrative fees will increase up to $13,000 a month for this, and administrative fees are based on leasing. So it varies based on how many we actually have under contract in a lease. After the absorption is effective, then HUD said that we can request an increase in our current administrative fees, which are $68.49. And as I mentioned before, throughout the entire process of this, we have worked with officials from Douglas, Cochise County, and HUD during the draft of the IGA and resolution. So immediately upon absorbing the vouchers and wait lists, what this is going to do is combine all of the vouchers so it serves all of Cochise County. Right now, the City of Douglas serves within their city limits, and we do not. We serve the outskirts of Douglas. Our participants can request a portability with their voucher, but this will put all of the vouchers under one roof instead of 2. All programs are existing and funded by HUD to serve low-income housing needs in our communities. And that's all that I have for my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions or address any concerns that the board might have.
And I just have a quick question. Describe what happens when you lose someone in your support. I mean, it's a happy story.
So
to hear it.
So the Family Self-Sufficiency Program is designed for our participants in our rental programs who are earning either zero or very little income, and they're in a position where they can increase their income. They enter into a 5-year contract to become self-sufficient and get off welfare and housing subsidy. So that's what we're expecting is to have some additional graduates. And actually Douglas has more than 19 right now. They're going to have 3 graduates between now and the end of the year, and we're expecting to have about the same.
So it's just such a happy story, and it is what the program's designed to do, and it's good to see that it does what it's designed to do.
Absolutely.
Are there any other questions from the board or comments?
Yes, this pretty obviously grows county government instead of reducing it, and contradicts principles of lines of demarcation between government entities and blurs those lines.
Lives a quarter of a mile outside the city limits of Douglas or in Douglas, they have the same place to look, and that's to the Cochise County Housing Authority. And so I think it simplifies it for our citizens, and that's what we should be looking for. If we looked at the number of people that were employed in Douglas to do this and the number of additional people at the county, it's a wash. So it's not like, the program is growing. What the program is doing is it's putting everything under one head rather than having 2 different entities that are acting in that capacity. So I think it's a great move, and thank you all for working through all the processes to make it happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this also, just to be said, we didn't go to the city of Douglas and ask them if we could take over. Can you describe what happened?
No, the city of Douglas actually approached us, and this is something that we've kind of gone back and forth with and discussed over a number of years. As Chairman English pointed out, this is just going to be streamlining the program, and we also, as a county government, understand that some of the Douglas residents, City of Douglas residents, or even outlying areas might have a little bit of difficulty coming to our office here at Melody Lane. So we also intend to have a presence once a week, a minimum of once a week in Douglas at one of our facilities there.
Okay. Thank you for the explanation. Is there any further comments?
Yeah, the concept is pooling and redistribution.
And hearing no other comments by the board, I call for, there is a motion and a second. I call for vote on this item. All in favor say aye. Aye. And all opposed.
Nay.
Okay. So we have 2 votes passing this resolution through. Thank you very much, Ms. Baca.
Thank you.
And now we'll move on to the summary or report by Richard Karwachka, our county administrator.
So since we're running late for the work session, I have no comments for today.
Okay. District number 1.
We heard from County Supervisors Association that our PSPRS return for the most recent period was -1%, and I think that we understand what that's going to mean for our pension liability issue. So, and also there was like a historic stock market crash this last week.
Thank you.
You bet.
District number 2.
I just wanted to thank everyone who went to the Cochise County Fair this past week, and hope they had a great time. There was record turnout, and so thank you all that chose to participate in the Cochise County Fair. Even though it isn't run by the county, We are the only county that doesn't run the county fair, but we do participate and we support the county fair.
Thank you for those comments. And then myself for District Number 3, I mentioned it last time too, but Rex Allen Days is this weekend in Wilcox, and it is our, other than some wine festivals that are coming up, also there's one this month, but the Rex Allen Days is our big event. It follows the fair by 1 week, but we still have a wonderful turnout and everyone's welcome. There's something for everybody there. So thank you very much. That is the end of this meeting. Prior to adjourning, I'd like to announce that our next meeting will be today, a work session, which would have begun at 11 a.m. But if we can have a 5-minute break, is that enough? 10-minute break, then we'll meet in the executive conference room for a work session. Thank you. This meeting's adjourned.